Not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Only the people are poor. When people didn't have enough to eat, when people were driven to the edge of desperation, there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the bauxite. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. The third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Only the people are poor. When people didn't have enough to eat, when people were driven to the edge of desperation, there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the bauxite. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. They're overexploited.
Good night, folks. You are listening or watching the Lall Show on Kaieteur Radio. On every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the publisher of Kaieteur News, Mr. Lall, joins us to have a discussion about the management of the people's wealth. You'll remember that the last time Mr. Lall appeared on the show, we talked about local content. So tonight we're going to continue a little of that discussion, and we're also going to delve into other issues. My name is Kemol King, and I will be your moderator for tonight's proceedings. So Mr. Lall, good night, and let the people know what you have to say.
Good evening, Guyana. Sweet Guyana. Just listen how the people got our $1 billion US dollar oil blocks, and they are not satisfied with that. They are setting the stage to grab up all the other businesses that is associated in the oil industry. Please don't sleep away on me. You would be struck with what you have to hear. Monday night's program, I touched on how foreign companies took over our role in which their pockets are fattening and we, the locals, are left to suck salt with white mouths. Before I tell you more of what we will be sucking to change our color of our mouth, let me make something clear to all listeners. I am not a politician, and I am not here to unseat anyone. I came to this program because I am tired of putting it in the newspapers, writing it, where people cannot understand what they read and how they read it. I came to let you know what is taking place with your wealth in a layman's term. Things your leaders are silent about and don't want you to know. This program has been generating a lot of talks right across the country. And people have been asking questions. People have been saying to me, Glenn, aren't you scared? Aren't you afraid to expose what you are doing? Today I went to a funeral service and the pastor was asking me, Mr. Lall, please be careful. And I said to the pastor that I am not afraid. I am just not afraid. I want to give you guys the real answer. but it's difficult for me to do that. A pastor that I love, a man that I love to watch and listen to, his name is Joel Osteen. And a friend sent me a clip of what he said about life, in which I want you to listen to. Could you play that?
Life is too short to try to have peace with people that don't want to have peace with you. And some of your relatives, you love them, but you have to love them from a distance. Don't frustrate yourself trying to make things happen that they don't want to happen. And that's not being disrespectful, that's being responsible with the gifts God has given you. My nature is to be a peacemaker. I want everybody to be happy. I'll go the extra mile 400 times to make peace. But some people have their own issues. They don't get along with themselves. How are they going to get along with you? They don't like who they are. How are they going to like who you are? And no matter what you do, it's not going to be enough. They're going to find fault, be critical, try to make you feel guilty. If you keep trying to appease them, keep bending over backwards, spending all your time and energy, all that's doing is letting them control you. Be nice, but don't get distracted trying to have peace with someone that doesn't want peace. We all have people in our life like David's brother. They don't like seeing you happy, rising higher, going places. It's not about you, it's about the favor on your life. It's about the blessing God put on you. Don't take it personally. Keep your face set. You won't fulfill your destiny if you're trying to keep everyone happy. And some people that make the most withdrawals put in the least deposits. They're high maintenance people. They expect you to always be there to help them, to encourage them, to meet their every demand. But when you need something, they're never around. They're too busy. If that friendship is one-sided, they're doing all the taking and none of the giving, you need to make a change. I've heard it said, quit swimming across an ocean to be good to someone that won't jump across a puddle to be good to you. And if they get offended because you don't meet every expectation, they weren't a true friend. They just want you for what you can do for them. Those are distractions. You need to gradually break away from people like that. You were not created to be controlled, to never have any time to pursue what God put in your heart. Well, Joel, what if they get upset? What if I hurt their feelings? I would rather disappoint a few people than to disappoint God. Because when you come to the end of life, you won't give an account to people of what you did with your time, your talents, your resources. You'll give an account to God.
That's it. Beautifully put. Am I on? Beautifully put. And all my life, I have lived that way. I live that life because I believe what that man say. I don't have to account to no man for my actions. I have to account to him. You see, Guyana, I believe that we are not in control. We are not in control of anything. God is in control. And when you understand that He's in control, you can have no fear. So my answer to those people who are asking those questions, let me say clearly, I am a fearless human being. I am here, sent here by the Maker to fulfill His purpose, not mine. So, Guyana, let's begin. Monday, we talked a little about local content. Let me refresh those who didn't get a chance to listen to our program. Let me elaborate on it, and what I have to tell you would upset you, because I am upset, and you should be the same way. So don't sleep away on me again. I always believe that you need to know how rich you are so that you can know what you're missing. The life all of us should have is one we should not be living now. We should be having a beautiful life. Instead, Guyana, your leaders is not being truthful and honest with you. Hadn't that contract exposed, we would have never known the true value of our oil. Our oil should have us living like people in the oil-rich countries, like Dubai and Kuwait. But instead, what life are we living? So, here we begin from where we left off. What you need to know and what you must know, Guyana. A very long time now, I kept telling my staff, the level of conversation has to change. The discussion in our land should be taken to a higher level. It must be and should be about our future. Bread and butter, a good life, Guyana. A good life, not one in which we should struggle to find food to take home when the day comes. Not one where we can't take home milk for our kids. We are too damn rich to grow through life rather than go through life. We shouldn't have one in which we are begging and snatching. But Guyana, our leaders, and the way they're carrying out our business affairs, I sometimes wonder if it's a fear they are picking to feed us. Listen this. ExxonMobil, thrown from 2015 to 2020, $60 billion in local content costs. The money they said they spend in local content or on local content, meaning spent in Guyana locally. We ask them, we ask our leaders to show this nation what you spend it on, who you spend it on, how you spend $60 billion. And we haven't got a single answer from none of our politicians or none of the oil companies. Can you imagine that? And in the first half year for 2020, we were handed another $14 billion local content costs. Again, we keep asking and asking about show us, tell us. You're just throwing bills at us and not even telling us anything. You're not defending it. And guess what, Guyana? We have to foot that bill. 60 and 14 is $74 billion in 5 years. In 5 years. And still they cannot give us a breakdown as to how this money is being spent and to who it is spending on. And our leaders, the PPP, the PNC, and the AFC you believe they're living in a land of nowhere. Not a single word from these guys. Not a breakdown. You're not hearing anything. You need to know, Guyana, that $74 billion, what it can do for you. $74 billion is 375 million US dollars. That money can take care of all your schools, all your hospitals, even take care of the $100 million loan we take from China to build our airport. You hear me? Kemol, you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
And our government and our leaders are silent on everything. This nation can't hear or know anything. Look at a simple thing. Look today's story about Suriname. Suriname put up their oil blocks for sale. They're doing what Guyana did the opposite. Ramotar, Robert, and Newell Denison give away ours. And on top of giveaway, they said they don't know who they give it to. And give away for free. Oil blocks that worth billions of dollars. Now Suriname is selling theirs. Suriname sell half of their block 58 that has 700 acres for 100 million US. ExxonMobil has 6,600,000 acres. If you do the maths, you will see that we could have easily gotten 900 million US. This is what our leaders, your leaders, ladies and gentlemen, is doing to us. How can we have a nice and decent life? And guess what you're hearing from them? After years of reporting on these things through the pages of the Kaieteur News, Jagdeo finally come out and telling us that no laws were broken and there was no corruption. And on the other hand, Joseph Harmon, been in office for 5 years, running this nation, held 4 press conferences, and he is still putting together a press conference with his oil team to come speak to Guyana. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you need to listen to them. Listen to their words. How can we trust these people? All these years they have said nothing. Nothing. Nothing about the oil industry you're hearing from them out. But Guyana is being told that we have bills and bills and bills. You may say that I am passionate. I am not passionate. I am upset. I am damn upset. If you want to live like kings and queens, listeners, you got to be upset too. You must be upset. Listen, man, how much more evil, how much more wicked, nasty and greedy these people can become. Here is a story. If you don't remember the players in Mid-Atlantic, Mid-Atlantic was one of the companies that received one of the oil blocks. the players in them right now as I speak, the directors of the Mid-Atlantic that receive the oil blocks for free, these guys are also directors in another company set up. Guess for what? Guess for what, listeners? They are not satisfied with the oil block alone. They set up a company, that company named Glass Holdings, Inc. It is listed online as oil and gas supplies. You hear that? The same players that own the block set up company, and the players are listed as directors in that company as directors too. Ready to take over the local content too that belongs to me and you. You hear that? These are people who set up a company in Guyana, don't have a building, just received a piece of land that is in controversy right now with James Bond to build a factory and to set up the equipment and warehousing to do supplies to the oil company. They have no building. But guess what, Guyana? Mid-Atlantic and ExxonMobil already signed a contract to that company to supply, to become the supplier to the oil companies. So I ask this question: what is there for you, Guyana? What is there for us, Guyana? This is Guyana, man, Kemol. This is beautiful Guyana. What is there for us? Now you set up a company and ready to get a piece. What is there for you? What is there for you, child? Nothing. Nothing. And this is Guyana, beautiful Guyana, being run by lovely politicians. The story even gets more tipsy-turvy. Listen to this. ExxonMobil have been saying that Guyana will benefit. Guyana will benefit. But you know, you got to first register with them. And then the second, you got to be certified by them. Are you listening to what I'm saying? You have to register with them, and then you have to be certified by them. Certified by them, you know the cost for a small mechanic shop to be certified with them? You have to pay at least $10,000 US for that American certification. Now, I have spoken to a few people many moons ago, and they said, when I asked them, why aren't you guys supplying or become a supplier or become a part of the local content? A couple of them tell me, Glenn Lall, but where am I going to find $10,000 US to pay to learn how to weld when I know how to weld? You understand what is going on here? So locals, you're being kicked out without even knowing. And our politicians, these morons, cannot see beyond that. The first thing jumps out of their mouth. Well, the people say, are you not ready yet to do the job? And are you not qualified to do the job? that is what will come out of their mouth. They can't understand that the people are putting conditions to kick you out rather than to grab you in. And those conditions are being placed there to facilitate their foreign companies and their own people within the industry. Guyana, are you sleeping? Guyana, are you listening? You got to pay $10,000 if you got a little welding shop, or if you got any fabrication shop, or if you're dealing with pipes, you got to be certified by them. Guyana, are we going somewhere, or are we being led somewhere? One comment I got from a friend says, Glenn, Guyana is a village idiot. I told him, I said, I refuse to believe that. We are not idiots. It's just that we have leaders who don't care about how we live with our richly blessed wealth. So we are here on local content. I am ready. I am here to take questions, Kemol.
All right, let me just tell the public who are listening via the radio and are watching via Facebook Live, we will not be entertaining calls, but you can send messages via text at 622-2222. That's 622-2222. I'll repeat this number every 10 minutes so that you can know which number you can call, which number you can send your WhatsApp to or your text message. Alternatively, if you're also following us on Facebook, you can comment on the live stream and I will see your question. So,
the third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Only the people are poor. When people didn't have enough to eat, when people were driven to the edge of desperation, there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the bauxite. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. They're overexploited.
all right now. The first question we got on our WhatsApp is, Mr. Lall, you seem to have a lot of interest in the oil industry. What has captivated you so much about it? Have you met with the government and the opposition to share your views?
I have the kind of politicians we have, Kemol, the newspaper, the Kaieteur news, none of them appreciate what we do when they come. Being critical of leaders pushes them away from you. They don't want to listen and they don't care. And that's the kind of politicians we have. So it's not that I don't want to have a one-on-one discussion. Many times, a matter of fact, one time I slammed the phone down on Ramjatan. Ramjatan, I am asking him what is going on. And the man, his exact words, Glenn, the people invest money to make money. I am like, oh my God. And I just slammed the phone down on him. A matter of fact, I never spoke about him since then. That's like 2.5 years now. And Ramjatan used to be my friend who used to listen. But for whatever reason, these guys are not listening. Every day we write in them by say, we have columnists, we write stories, explain it, and like they don't care. So that question should be asked to them, the leaders.
Yeah.
So much have said, why aren't you speaking? And that has been going on for years, many years. That happened in the PPP. back in the PNC, from the time you're critical of them and their actions and their decisions, they just keep you away.
Okay, and the first question, what has captivated you so much about the industry? Why are you so militant in your advocacy?
The oil industry, Kemol, I grow in business. I understand business. And I have been critical I'm not only critical in the oil industry now, but I've been critical on several of our resources. On the bauxite, I have exposed what Rusal has been doing. Rusal got more than Guyana in 12 years than what they gave us. So why do we need people like them? The gold industry, Aurora Gold Mines, and in the timber by Shanlin, I am the one, Kaieteur News is the one that would have brought out all these ills and wrongs, the deals that went on. So it's not about oil now. Oil has taken the front runner because the oil we have here, it's the greatest gift. It's the biggest thing the world have seen. The entire world, Kemol, the entire world is talking about Guyana, Guyana, Guyana. I saw a BBC news item just a few days ago talking about Guyana, 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 how rich Guyana is going to become.
Yes.
But is the people going to be rich? No. No. What I don't know is the deals we have. Yeah.
All right. Now, you spoke a little about some Guyanese meeting up with difficulties getting into the industry when they try, these exorbitant fees that they have to pay. Are you of the view that Guyanese are deliberately being forced out of the industry, that there's a deliberate embargo to keep Guyanese people from benefiting? And why do you think this is so?
Well, if you're going to do like what Exxon telling you to do, to go register and to get certified by their people, then what are they telling you? What are they telling the small man who has a little shop here, a shop there, a cement factory there, this factory there, that can contribute? A little beverage factory, a little water plant. If you're telling them that they have to certify and you got to find upfront $10,000 and you're not certain whether you will get a job, then what are we saying? What are we saying? They are actually putting clauses, putting measures, putting systems in place to push you out. And our leaders, our governments cannot fathom that. They can't understand this. And it eats away at our delicate layers of happiness.
Mr. Lall, when we first discovered oil, and as they've been making more and more announcements of discoveries, the story that was being told to the people is, you're going to soon see a lot of prosperity, a lot of wealth being brought to your shores. But Kaieteur News has shown in its reporting that it may not be so, that Guyanese people may not benefit as much as we should. One person is pointing to a proposal for cash transfers. And we know people like Clive Thomas had put forward this idea of cash transfers. So this person is asking, did these people lie to the Guyanese public when they build them up to expect so much? When they build them up to expect that $1 million would be sent to your household every month?
Guyana every household should have been getting a monthly salary as we speak here now. But the deal that struck will not give us nothing. You know, I want to touch a little on what is there for us. The hotels that are coming here, who owns them? Guyanese weren't given no opportunity to take part in them. All the big development that they're talking about, the lands at Ogle, the prime lands, in which Ogle will now become the oil center of Guyana, the next city of Guyana. You see what they did with the lands? You see how they grab up those lands? Who did it? The coalition did it. The coalition did it. Winston Jordan and Harmon them did it. Now, development of housing. Who they give it? One developer, Windsor Estate. Windsor Estate said, the man never applied for a piece of land. They approached him to give him, just to fit him in the slot, to show that we are giving locals a chance. So our leaders are not there to help us too. They are there for help themselves and that of their friends, and more so the foreigners. There's no Guyanese I see putting up anything. It's all foreigners coming in here. It's nasty deals.
All right, now, folks, we're going to go for a break for just a minute, and we'll be right back just now. Let me just remind you of the number that you can text, 622-2222. You can text that number, or you can send us a WhatsApp, and you can also comment on the Facebook Live if you're watching from there. We'll be back in a minute. See you then.
The third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Only the people are poor. When people didn't have enough to eat, when people were driven to the edge of desperation, there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the bauxite. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. They're overexploited.
Hello again, and you are watching or listening to the Glenn Lall Show. I am Kemol King, your moderator for tonight's proceedings, and Mr. Lall is now fielding questions from the public. So, one of the questions that someone asked on the Facebook Live is, Mr. Lall, the documents for these oil contracts. Sorry, let me see if I can refurbish that question a little. They want to know the documents that we need to scrutinize for these oil companies. How can they be accessed? I'm not sure if I understand what the person is.
I think they're asking about the contract. The contract signed between Guyana and these oil companies. They can be seen on the website for the government. We can get that information and get back to the person. But it's there. President Granger would have allowed it for us to see. That's how we know what we are getting.
Okay. One person is asking, you speak about the exploitation of our resources by foreign companies. Would you then prefer to have the sector nationalized in some sense? Maybe a national oil company. How would you propose going about this route if that is what you are insinuating?
No, I'm not saying nationalize anything.
Okay.
I'm saying that Guyana should be given a fair, the Guyanese people should be getting their fair share. The opportunities must be given to us first and foremost. And that is part of local content. But there's a deeper answer to that question, to which I don't want to go into now. But the entire contract, the entire way in which these oil blocks were granted, it's so secretly and deceivingly that we are working on a story right now to bring out in which we are looking for some documents in which the oil blocks were given to, and those documents cannot be located or found. So it's a lot of deceptiveness in this oil sector, and it's a huge industry. Like I said, it's gigantic. There are so many things we can talk about, but tonight I just want to focus on local content. I don't want my tongue to slip and say the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Okay, I believe what this person wants to know is how much would you be in support of, say, the establishment of a national oil company? When you envision local participation in the local oil sector, what does it look like?
That person is putting me on the spot here. We will have a local. We would have an oil company. We would have an oil company, but not a national oil company. We will have an oil company which would be owned by the same players. I didn't want this to come out, but all these things will come out.
Okay.
So the short answer to that, there will be an oil company, but it will not be nationally. It will be by the same players that own these oil blocks. They, like I said, are given anything, and they are grabbing up everything within the oil industry. You push me a little far there, Kemol. I didn't want to go there, but that's what it is. And you will see it for your own self down the road. It's going to come out. I'm going to bring it up. Go ahead.
One person wants to know, why is it that the service companies for ExxonMobil bring expats in droves to take up the jobs that locals can do?
That's a very beautiful question. That's a beautiful question. What answer can you give to that? They're bringing in their own people when we have people competent to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
That's a difficult. I don't know what answer you give to that. We have people here who could do the job, and you bringing in people, expats. Now, I can only see or think that they're bringing in their own people to fattening their own pockets in American dollars. Because if you take an American to do the job, you have to pay that American in American dollars and in an American salary. If you take a Guyanese, he gets a Guyanese salary, and they're comfortable with that. So the more, I believe, the more they could suck out of you in every single aspect of the oil industry, that's what they'll do. But and it comes back to our leaders. Is our leaders looking out for our interests? Let's say you can do the job.
Yes.
And they didn't take you. What are you going to do? There are many people applying for the jobs. But are they getting it? No.
Okay. This person is asking about something important too. The last time we came onto the show, we were also talking about local content. And we spoke about the hiring of someone, Dr. Michael Warner, who had ties to ExxonMobil. This person wants to know how we can prevent situations happening like that, where persons who have ties to oil companies, say, come to work with the government under the guise of wanting to help.
I made a mistake with Michael Warner. Lord, let me correct what I said Monday on Michael Warner. Michael Warner did not work directly with ExxonMobil, but he worked for 40 years in the oil sector with oil companies. So when you work in the sector, whose interests you would come and work for? You work definitely for the interests of the oil companies. In this business, is about who pays more. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And Michael Warner, our government should have never brought him here. Our government should have never chased out Anthony Paul. But instead they chased the man out, bring in Michael Warner, and Michael Warner, what he did? He didn't work in our best interest. He worked in the oil company's interest. He changed everything that would have benefited Guyana to benefit the oil company.
Okay. This person wants to know, where else in the world does it happen where foreigners get so many exemptions and concessions as opposed to locals?
Oh my God. I think in heaven. Only in heaven maybe that will happen. Because from the time you land here and you're a foreigner, I don't know what they do to our leaders. I can only guess, like the person who asked that, whether they, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't want to use languages and phrases that I've sung rude and disrespectful. But I don't know what they do to our leaders to give away. It's not generous. This is not being generous. This is like giving away your ass to them.
Okay. We, as in Kaieteur News, has done a lot of coverage of local content in particular. What would you as the publisher want to see in the efforts of a government in terms of setting up local content legislation and a strong policy? What are some of the things that you want to see in order to make sure that Guyanese benefit the most?
I want to see, Kemol, I want to see exactly what the expert have drafted and left with our political leaders. I want to see all those clauses and everything he recommended in favor of a country. I want to see that put in place. To ask me what are some of them, there are too many. There are too many.
Okay. Now, I see also another question from someone. They're speaking about the efforts to get local content in the oil sector as opposed to, say, mining. We have had a lot of discussion about local content in oil, but how much have we had in mining? Is it that we're giving foreign companies in the mining sector?
Well, exactly what is playing out here had played out and continues to play out in the other sectors. For example, Rusal, and we reported on all this in the pages of the Kaieteur News. Rusal got duty-free equipment from a pin to the moon. They got concessions on fuel. They get concessions on every single thing, including their workers. If they bring in their own foreign workers, they pay no taxes, they pay no nothing. And that has shown itself in all the foreign companies that is in this country. You have one now, the Aurora gold field, that transferred to a Chinese company, that gotten the world of concessions to which we can't compete with. One of them brought in their own plane to fly in their workers in and out from Georgetown. That was not supposed to be in there. The local plane services should have been the ones they have to use so that locals can benefit. Instead, the last government give the people a plane license to come here. As a matter of fact, it went so far that the pilots were not even registered to fly here. But our leaders allowed them to do that. So this is the kind of advantages that befalls us as a local.
All right. Now, this person has a sort of peculiar question. This person wants to know, why should we tell oil companies who to hire and who to purchase from? Shouldn't they be free to run their own companies?
No. In the oil industry, locals must should and at all times be given first preference in supplying and hiring, in the supplying business or hiring of people. It has happened throughout the world. All over the world, that has happened. And why should it be different here?
Yes. Okay. This person is also asking about the hiring of Dr. Michael Warner, and they want to know what exactly was so problematic about Michael Warner's hiring as opposed to Anthony Paul's hiring. Anthony Paul also worked for an oil company in his past. So how would you rate Anthony Paul as a better person to work in Ghana's interest as opposed to Dr. Warner?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. And Anthony Paul happened to be a Trinidadian.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Paul would have written several local content policy for countries in which they develop their people and the industry. Warner has never written a local content policy in his life. So how do you juxtapose that? How do you equate that, or ask the question about Anthony Paul being a Trinidadian and Michael Warner being an American? This is a man who written and in which countries would have gained. And he was hired here, he was sent off, and Michael Warner came here to take over.
Okay. This person wants to know, how much do you think oil companies should give to develop the capacity of locals? In our coverage, we know that oil companies are required to give a certain amount of money each year under their contract. How much do you think is the optimum amount
To give for?
to give for the development of local capacity in terms of training?
Well, the first answer to that, if I could have laughed, I would have laughed healthily, but I'm not in a position to laugh. When you look back, and this is something we published too, when you look back at several countries from Iraq, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, you would have seen that oil companies would have given money in the millions of American dollars to help locals, to train locals so that they can come into the oil industry. Instead, they give Guyana $300,000. $300,000 can't even buy, carry the company for a drink one night.
Yes.
So you see, you need to understand what oil companies do in other countries and what they do to Guyana. That's a story that, all these are stories we carry. But people missed it. This is why I come here, to sit and to chat and to talk about this thing.
Okay.
$300,000. And this is $300,000 per year. Per year. Some people get $2 million and change.
This person wants to know, given that they've seen a lot of money being given by oil companies to, say, local organizations, ExxonMobil may put out a press release saying that it spent how much ever billions of dollars locally on Guyanese talent and so on. Is that not good? Is that not a good indication of Exxon's local content commitments?
The person needs to understand that every cent Exxon spend is recoverable. So if I am a businessman and I know if I give Rita family some hampers, I tell the whole village, I give Rita family hampers for Christmas. I look good, I sound good. in the village. But the village doesn't know, and Rita doesn't know, that I am claiming back that money from Guyana stores or from BPAT. No. So, of what good that is? That's for me is just a PR stunt to make you look good, feel good, and smell good. So you're not really getting anything from these people.
Okay. One person wants to know if ExxonMobil and its partners are not adhering to proper local content commitments or the levels of local content as they should be, what measures can Guyana take to make sure that they do? Can Guyana punish them? Can Guyana bring penalties against them?
That's a lovely question. That's a lovely question. I don't think Guyana can do anything with the contract we signed. And I urge that person to get hold of the contract and read the contract. The contract actually give the oil companies the right to do whatever they want to do, to say whatever they want to do, to give whatever they want to give. It's a free-for-all contract Guyana signed with these people. There's no penalty. And even if this is the laughable part of it all, that person that sent a question to need to understand. Even if you fine them, they recover that money from our profit.
Yes.
So they pay. So there's no fine. There's nothing you can do them. It's all up to them what they do and how they do it.
That's very insightful. So let me ask you, Mr. Lall, if it is that the contract ties our hands behind our backs so much, then what is the use? What is the use of the protest?
We have to, I have seen in many parts of the world, changes can come about. But we got to have leaders with balls. Take, for instance, Nigeria. Nigeria, one of them countries. Those guys end up in a protest that bring about a change in their land. Kaieteur in Trinidad and Tobago, the Prime Minister, he brought about a change in their contract. He called them in and said, listen, this contract that we sign here only benefits one side. Mm-hmm. And you need to go back and sit down and come back to us. And they went and they come back and they said, listen, okay, we understand that. But can that happen in Guyana? The question, what should we ask? Can that happen in Guyana? I doubt it, Kemol. I doubt it because of our leaders. And you have to remember one thing. Oil companies, they first go in your country and line the pockets of your political leaders. That's what they do. And the silence in this country from all the political leaders is a story that all Guyana should be worried about. If you read through the line what I'm saying. Then who's going to stand up? Who's going to be the man to say, Exxon, Mid-Atlantic, Kaieteur, oil blocks, owners say, come, no, we can't do this thing anymore. We got to do better than this. Who's going to do that? Kemol, that's a question I'm asking you. I'm asking Guyana. Who's going to do that?
Yes.
You got to have somebody there who's coming out of the blues that have the temerity to say, hey, you can't do the Guyanese people's thing. We have to, and I will stand up against you. And once you stand up, they have to. I believe that they have to. And I believe in my heart that changes will come, must come.
Okay, we've come down to the final few minutes
Play.
of our show, folks. We're going to go on a break just for a minute, and then we'll come back for Mr. Lall's closing comments.
The third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Only the people are poor. When people didn't have enough to eat, when people were driven to the edge of desperation, there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the bauxite. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. They're overexploited.
Yeah.
Good night, folks, and welcome back to Kaieteur Radio's The Glenn Lall Show with the one and only Glenn Lall, the publisher of Kaieteur News. And here we talk about how our leaders are managing the people's wealth. And so tonight we had a very long and fruitful discussion about local content. I am going to allow Mr. Lall to give his closing comments, but before I do that, I want to say, usually when we have a topic, we try to entertain only questions about the topic of the night. So I see a lot of questions coming in about the oil contract. Though that question can be saved for perhaps another day when we delve into the oil contract, but tonight we were talking about local content. So if you feel slighted that your question didn't get in, you're not to worry. We're going to have a night for every single discussion. So Mr. Lall, please make your closing comments.
Kemol, Guyanese, wherever you are, I am hopeful and I am prayerful that come next few months, we will begin to see changes in the oil industry, changes as to how these people doing business with us, and I am hopeful that our leaders is listening and bring about the changes that not Glenn Lall wants, what you, the people of this country, wants to give you a better, a brighter, and a much more beautiful life. Thank you.
Thank you. You were listening to The Glenn Lall Show. I am Kemol King, your operator, and I just want to say on behalf of Kaieteur News and Kaieteur Radio, enjoy the rest of your night, and see you on Friday.
The third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Only the people are poor. When people didn't have enough to eat, when people were driven to the edge of desperation, there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the bauxite. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. They're overexploited.